Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to another episode of Always Almost There, Day After Show Live. We're here today, just made it up to Saratoga Springs here, ready for an amazing weekend at SPAC, of course, very excited for the night off tonight. But we are here, more importantly, to talk about last night's Boston finale. It was a great show, and I'm joined by my good friend Tommy here today. Tommy, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Fantastic. And for those of you who don't know who Tommy is, you should follow Tommy Does Music on Instagram because he does, in fact, do music and he's very good at it. But we are also going to be joined shortly by John Caruso. Very excited to have him on to talk. Unfortunately, Paige is unable to join us today. So we will have John instead, which I know not the same because John has seen Shama before, I'm pretty sure, or maybe came close to it. But he will be on in a bit. But let's start with you, Tommy. How were you feeling going into last night? And what was your pre-show vibe like?
I was really excited. The first two nights were fun, but I was like, they got some jams left to do, and a lot of songs I still wanted to see, and they played a lot of them. So I was very excited to be there.
Awesome. And where were your seats last night?
I was like fourth row Peter's side.
On the floor?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I ended up, Neil and I were in the mezzanine again yesterday, same spot we had been, which was a lot of fun. Great view. Neil, unfortunately, is unable to join us today. He's at work. Well, let's start off. Let's dive right into the show here, Tommy. Let's start off with the first few songs of the first set here. Wales, Masquinada, and Doc Brown. How are you feeling about these?
I thought it was fun. I think that was the second time I've seen a Wales opener, and Masquinada, that was some crazy Rick. he was shredding it up.
Yeah, and then Doc Brown.
Yeah, it was fun. Good third song.
Hang on 1 second. Sorry, I just got a message from John. I'm gonna send him the link. I mean, I think this was a great way to open the show. Love a Wales opener. That's been pretty consistent. These days, it's 4 out of the last 5 performances of the Wales have been the opener. I figured going into last night, we were going to get a Peter opener. I figured it was either going to be the Wales or Elizabeth. The Masquinada was a surprise to me coming this early. I think they like to play that in the second set a lot. But it was fun, very solid. And then Doc Brown in the 3 slot instead of the 2 slot, still clearly an omen that it's going to be a good show. But slightly different place than we were worried to when we are used to. And John is here. John, how are you doing?
How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you're good. We're live. We're rolling. Thanks for joining us. You're fine. Thank you for joining us. You may not be Paige, but we are excited to hear firsthand about your guys' reactions to last night. We will get to the amazing dedication and the Shama. But first, let's rewind a bit. Hi, Harry. First, let's rewind a bit. Tell me about your guys' pre-show vibe. This was the only show of the run that you were able to catch, John. So how are you feeling going in?
Yeah, that's right. So essentially, we got there kind of late because we had to drop off our kids at daycare first, just because that's day in the life of a parent. But we got there around probably 6-ish or so, maybe a little before that. Had no issue getting in, really. Just some waiting, but no more than like a half hour, I would say. Got to see some friends, which was really nice.
Nice.
A little bit
you
of
guys
scene
were.
outside. There were some people vending, which was nice. It's always nice to see when a scene builds on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you guys were on the rail, Trevor's side, right?
Yes. Yep, we were.
Seems to be a good spot for you. After all this time of being Peter's side, it worked out. Well, so. we were just diving into the beginning of the show here, John. Why don't you take us through what you were thinking? Wales, Masquinada, and Doc Brown to kick it off.
Sure. So I wrote down some notes. The Wales, I thought it was solid. I always think a Wales opener usually leads to a good show. At least from experience.
Yeah.
Anytime that Wales has opened the show, it's been good. And I feel like it's a song that I may not have warmed up to initially, but it's grown and evolved more over time. So that's I think it's a good spot to have it in the intro as opposed to maybe later on in the set. And I feel like the intros have been getting better too, as it's been growing. Like they've been
Definitely.
getting more distorted and weird, which I like when they do that. That kind of brings you in to the vibe right away.
Mhm.
Maz Kanata, I pulled some El Goose net stats before the call
Ooh.
this to, and Maz Kanata, that was the first time it's been in the 2 slot for the first set, which I thought was very interesting. I think that's a good placement for it because at least everyone around me, it got everyone dancing, and I feel like that brought a good energy to the set.
Mhm.
It wasn't necessarily the most jammed out, but not always needed. I feel like it was a good building point for what would come later.
Absolutely. And then Doc Brown.
Doc Brown, I feel like that's a rarity nowadays, which I feel like I don't know if it should be, but I really like it. I feel like it's a good crowd pleaser, like, and it gets you know gets Peter active and engaging with the audience and stuff.
Yeah. And then we get our first big jam of the night here in this Indian River, just short of 20 minutes. I really like this. Tommy, what were your thoughts on this Indian River?
I thought that was incredible. I think that might have been, well, that was probably my second favorite part of the whole show.
Yeah.
That was pretty incredible. I feel like they were really locked in there. I feel like Rick was on his game.
Yeah, absolutely. John, what are your thoughts on the Indian River here?
Indian River. So apparently that was the third longest ever version, which I didn't know. But I thought it was a good version. I feel like they've had so many different variations of Indian River at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the vibe that this one brought. It was kind of like a 80s ish kind of vibe. But then and then I always loved the Welcome to Delta Jam. That's been kind of part of it for a couple years now.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, like 14-minute mark, it kind of shifts into this cool little type 2-ish jam, I would call it.
Yeah.
I was like, it reminded me of another jam, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But then I listened back to the TED tapes, and it reminded me of the Nebula 3 jam. It was kind of like the stop-start kind of like bluesy-ish jam. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's where I thought I heard something similar to it.
Yeah, I kind of was thinking like the second half of the Chateau Hunger Site. That kind of like slowed down jam. But I really liked where they went in that Indian River. I felt that Delta didn't overstay its welcome, which it does do sometimes. And yeah, just that 4 or 5 minutes of like slower exploration was just really, really nice stuff.
I agree.
Loved where they went in that. And I love to see Indian River getting, jammed out a little bit, which, something missing from a lot of versions of this song. So happy to see that. And then sliding right into Wisteria here. Very, very surprised, to see this pop up mid first set. Really great jam here. You have Peter doing some amazing synthesizer work. You got first on the OB6, just layering stuff in, and then he kind of sets this drone on the OB6 and switches over to the Moog Muse, the new guy, as they go into that Bliss jam, and just really, really just a fantastic Bliss jam. And yeah, my only knock on this jam is that it's only 14 minutes. I felt that there was a lot of ground left for them to explore, but the jamming already felt more purposeful and different in this jam than it had the previous 2 nights. So I was really excited about that. But John, what were your thoughts on the Wisteria here?
I know, and you said only 14 minutes, and I remember a conversation with Vickers last night. He's like, I could put this on my Bliss, jams of the year list, but it's kind of short. I'm like, but people can't let the lengths of the jam deceive them. Like this one, I feel like goes somewhere really quickly. I feel like right around like the 5-minute mark, it completely leaves Wisteria Lane and then goes into something completely. It builds into this beautiful, blissful jam. I loved it. I thought that was one of my favorite jams of the night, even though it was shorter. I don't think it really mattered in this case. It was the feeling it gave me. So I really liked it, and then the reprise into Echo I thought was pretty unexpected. I didn't.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever split it across 2 shows before.
I'm like,
yeah,
it's one of those moments.
Oh yeah, that's funny now because you were only at night 3, so now your Echo stats are kind of lopsided. You saw you saw a reprise. which I guess technically counts as seeing it. But yeah, that was a cool idea. Tommy, what about you on this Wisteria Echo?
Yeah, I think like you said, Peter's like synth game this week has really like impressed me. Like
Mhm.
every single show, he's done something that really blew my mind, especially last night in that Wisteria. I
Yeah.
thought the Echo was really epic. Like it was a good way to close that.
Yeah, close the loop on the unfinished one from Tuesday night. I agree. And then Slow Ready comes out to close the set. Again, the Moog Muse showing off what it can do. With the old Nord lead, Peter had to manually play, the chords are F and then A minor with the arpeggiator, and Peter had to manually be playing that the whole time. But from what I saw last night, he is programmed in that the Moog Muse does that automatically, which opens him up to be able to play piano or something else. So he was playing piano during the jam, which I thought added a nice, different dimension from what we normally hear from the Slow Ready jam. And I think there's some potential there, maybe into the future. My mother wants to know where Paige is. She's working, unfortunately. Yeah. We tried to have Paige on. She will make an appearance at some point, I'm sure. But Tommy, what were your thoughts on Slow Ready to close out the first set?
Yeah, I'm not a super huge Slow Ready fan, but I thought it was a great vibe.
Are you a Team
It's a
So
lot
guy?
better. I am, but I've never seen Slow Ready live before, and that kind of changed it for me.
I've heard that before. John, what about you?
I'm a Team Slow personally. I'm a Team Slow versus So. I like the vibes that this one brings. I think it works really well as a set closer. I don't know why, but it just marked it. I thought it was kind of peculiar. Has Peter stopped dancing with that song?
I think this was the first one. Now that the Nord synth is gone, and I think he's actually playing a little more, like more keys in the song. I think there's less room for dancing. So, do you know? Did Paige say anything about that?
No, but I feel like that's something Paige would say. So I feel
something she would be focused on. Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's go into set break here. Let's start with you, John. How are you guys feeling at set break? What were you thinking for set two?
I went in with pretty big expectations. I felt like they were going to jam just from how that first set went. Everyone was feeling really well. The vibes were really high. Everyone was it was a really great night. I feel like the crowd was very respectful and at least in my section there wasn't really any chomping, which was really nice, especially during like the quieter moments. But yeah, it was nice. I like the set breaks.
I'm jealous. Over up in the mezzanine, there was a lot of talking during the first set, especially. Kind of got a little better in set two, but I just remember during set one just being like, wow, like this is a lot more than there have been the last couple of nights. But I'm glad it calmed down. Tommy, what were you feeling like going into set two?
I was really excited for set two, but I was with some friends from school who had never seen Goose before, so they were all really hyped up on Goose
on everything. Yeah. Very excited.
So that made the vibes a lot better.
Yeah,
not that I wasn't already
right. Not that the vibes weren't already sky high. But for me, Neil and I were pretty much certain that Thatch was going to open the second set or be the second song. Like we knew it was coming. They played a big version at SPAC last year, so we were pretty sure they weren't going to be playing it this weekend. We were like, okay, this has to be a Thatch second set. And lo and behold, they come out for set two. They drop an excellent version of Thatch. I absolutely love this, but I'll let you take it away first, Tommy. What were your thoughts on this? And I'm curious how your friends reacted to hearing the greatest song of all time for the first time.
Yeah, that really was the greatest song of all time. Like that was pretty ridiculous. I mean, that was probably the best Goose jam. I mean, I haven't been to too many shows, but
yeah,
that was.
Weren't you at the Philly Echo?
I'm true. My bad. Forgot about that. True. But other than that, yeah, that was my friends. They blew their mind too.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was good to get that big jam of the week.
100%. John, what were your thoughts on Thatch?
I feel like that's when the room really like popped off. Like the energy like just exploded. Like everyone around me just started to rage. It was and that was a lovely version. It's funny you brought up the SPAC version because that's like another significant version that I listened to back a lot. But I feel like I'll revisit this one quite a bit just because the jam itself I feel like was more collaborative as opposed to it being just the Rick show, just leading to Peak After Peak, which has its appeal here and there, but it's nice when it's an actual like collaboration between everybody. So
agreed.
yeah,
They've had
this layer.
Yeah, and they've had a lot of versions of Thatch this year, for the most part, that have ended up in a very, democratic, egalitarian kind of jam. This one last night, amazing. I love that like repeating riff that Peter found on the Vintage Vibe. Kind of as they modulated out, that is like such an earworm to me, and it just reminded me of the Forest Hills one in that it was just like right to the point. They were just building together as one unit to just like a sustained peak, and it was amazing. Yeah, this was the big improv that we were waiting for. If not sure if this is making my playlist yet. If it does, it'll be towards the lower end of it. But I'm happy that we see that the jams are still there. I'm still curious what happened on Monday and Tuesday to result in the lower amounts of jamming that we got. But I'm happy that last night indicates that, or I think indicates that this weekend is going to give us many, many more jams. So next segment of the set here, we get Creatures, Doobie Song, Fish in the Sea. John.
This was a great sequence. After Creatures was good. I mean, I have to that's one I haven't really quite re-listened to, but I remember it being a good version. And Into Doobie I thought was very interesting. That's where they kind of psyched me out first, because I thought, oh, this is where maybe Shama could show up if it did, because that's like typically where it does show up. But I thought Doobie worked really well on that slot. That was Paige's first Doobie song, so she was really psyched for that. And I think it was only my second one out of 28 shows, so it's not one that I have seen a lot either. So I was very happy to hear that as well. And the Fish in the Sea was good. I will say, according to Elgoose.net, it's the shortest version they've ever played, which I didn't know.
Felt pretty, quick and to the point.
Punctual, but that's not to say it was bad. It was just like straight to the point. And
yeah,
it was like, I feel like that whole section was like a party,
Yeah,
like
absolutely. Yeah, I didn't totally love the Doobie placement. Not really a song I want to hear in the middle of the second set or at all for the most part. But they tend to put it in like the second set or the encore, which can be hit or miss. Creatures I really liked. Peter using that phaser piano again, which I think sounds so good. I love that effect, and just kind of like just very driving jam in this Creatures. And then Fish in the Sea never disappoints. Doesn't really do anything out of the ordinary when it gets played, but still always will be one of my favorite covers that Goose does. Tommy, what do you think of this 3-song segment here?
Yeah, Creatures was totally a song that I was like waiting for the whole week, and it came and it delivered. And Doobie song, I mean, it was fun. It was good vibes. Definitely party vibes,
Sure.
And then Fish in the Sea, that was a song I've been like waiting to see for a long time. I never got to see it. But I remember when I first like found Goose, it was like the Bingo Tour Fish in the Sea that I listened to like over and over again.
That one is so good. If anyone hasn't heard the 62620 Fish in the Sea, that is the best non-tab horns one that they've ever played. You should go check it out because it is sick. All right, and then we get to close out the second set here. Of course, tried and true pairing, 726 Dripfield. There is nothing that I would like to see close the second set more than these two songs. You get the emotional 726, absolutely gorgeous. And then you just bring the house down with Drip. I tweeted last night, and I've said this before, I think Drip is objectively the best Goose song. It might not be everyone's favorite, but I think it is like the most unique, like just the coolest. Like there's so much cool shit happening in that song. And I love it so much. Tommy, your thoughts on 726 Drip here?
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, 726 was beautiful. And then Dripfield is like, it's so epic. And it is really like their most unique song. I feel like there's no other bands that do that.
Yeah, absolutely. John, your thoughts, 726 Drip?
I feel like 726 worked really well on that like breather spot. I feel like that's what kind of like, I feel like Doobie was kind of like a breather as well. So they had like 2 breathers in the set, which I feel like I was fine with. I had some breathers in the middle of all the dancing and stuff. So I feel like that worked. 726, I connect with that song very deeply, just because I know it. I believe it has to do with loss, at least from what I've gathered from research over the time. So it's something it's significant to me. And it was a beautiful version. Dripfield, I agree. It's an incredible closer, and it's one of the quintessential Goose songs because it's one that sounds distinctly like them as opposed to sounding like anyone else. Without naming any names.
Absolutely. And then that brings the second set to the close. And obviously now the moment that I'm sure lots of people have been waiting for. John, need the spare no detail, need the first-hand account of, from your perspective, what it was like when they came out for the encore.
So I knew something was kind of up because at the very end of Dripfield, it was like, you remember how it kind of like fizzled out at the very end? I saw Rick and Peter kind of like talking to each other on the internal mics and kind of like shrugging each other, like, should we do it? Yeah, let's do it. So then they walked on stage. So I'm like, what is going on? And then when they walk back on stage, Paige like yells over to him and be like, play Shama. And he's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And he was like playing it off to the very end.
Yeah.
So, and then they did the dedication and we're like, what? we got no idea. And then the first notes hit and it was just incredible. We thought they were gonna troll us with like a different song. And they would have dedicated to us and then play something completely different. But the fact that they played Shama was just incredible. It was a moment that I'll never forget. It was a core memory for me. She was just absolutely thrilled.
Thrilled. I feel like thrilled is an understatement. I can see you guys from where I was, and as soon as he said your name, I like looked and I just saw Paige like kind of melt a little bit. It was great.
Yeah, it's priceless.
Yeah,
I'm just so grateful for the band and that community. It just increased that sentiment tenfold.
Yeah, and now, John, if you go to a show without her and they play Shama, you probably won't have to sleep on the couch.
Yeah, it's great. It's a sigh of relief.
You're off the hook.
No dog else for this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Tommy, you got any thoughts on the encore?
Oh, it was fun. I thought it was they played like two silly songs, I feel like, with the Doobie song and Shama Lama, but I feel like that was a great ending.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was a great ending, nice emotion. I think that was better than if they had just done a quick love light, as they were planning to. But it was a lot of fun. And I just think going into this weekend, still so many big jammers on the table. You got Born, you got Hunger Sight, you got Arrow.
Arcadia.
I'm expecting to see Madhavan again, Arcadia for sure. Like there's so many songs that are going to be over on the next two nights. And they have a night off to refresh after playing 4 in a row and kind of step back and be like, all right, going into these next couple of shows. Don't worry, Dylan. I'm sure you'll get a love light. Maybe they'll do it as back. Rosewood too. Yeah. Rosewood has still only been played twice this year, which is weird.
That's a shame. It should be played more.
I know it should be. And before we wrap up here, I said yesterday that I forgot to brag about winning Golden Goose on Monday. So I had to go and win it again last night so I could brag about it today properly. And I'm really sad that Neil isn't here. I'm sure he made up a work emergency so he would miss, the opportunity for me to rub his face in the fact that I won again. But I don't know how I got Golden Goose again. Second time in 3 shows. The only time I've ever come close to that was I got Golden Goose a week apart, but that was in fall 2021. So feels pretty good to go 2 years without getting a Golden Goose and then get 2 of them in the same week. Mother, I'm going to brag because I got Golden Goose twice in 3 shows, and that entitles me to a little bit of bragging. Anyway, that's it. Do you guys have anything else you want to add on this run, this show last night before we wrap up?
You go first. You go first, Tommy.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I thought it was a great run. It was a lot of fun. Good vibes every day.
Yeah.
Good way to start college.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a hell of a thing. That was actually Jeff knew that it was your first week of college, and that's why he did college.
Yeah, like anyone else. There you go. Yeah.
It's pretty good. It all came together. It's a hell of a way to start off your college career. But that's awesome. John, what about you?
I mean, it was the only show I caught of the run, but I felt like I caught a great show. And it was my wife Paige had caught the first 4. And I felt like it was a very nice cap for her, a very special cap. yeah, we won't forget that night for a long time for sure.
Yeah.
Just solidifies my love for the band and community. So
Were the
fired
kids
up
excited? Did they
for the new
understand?
issue. So
Were the kids excited? Did they understand the gravity of what happened last night?
uh Sadie, no, but Carrie, it was like, what? But I still don't know if it's gonna win him over to Goose yet.
Right. He's not
We'll
100% sold, which is pretty funny.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure talking to you both, having you on the podcast. Congratulations to Paige again for her Shama. We're sad that she had to miss the episode today. And we will be back on Saturday afternoon at 3:30. We are going to have a couple of interns with us, as well as some great guests, because Neil and I are staying with some interns in Saratoga this weekend. It's going to be a blast of an episode. If anyone has seen the intern episodes before, there's never a dull moment. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to seeing Goose back tomorrow night. Of course, whether you're on the couch or at home, get involved. Tag us on socials. Let us know your favorite parts of the shows. We'll see you out there, and we'll see you this weekend to recap SPAC. Thank you again to you guys for joining us today, and thank you, everybody, so much for watching today's episode of Day After Show. Have a fantastic end of your week, and we will